Hi folks, Hugo Rivera here from HugoRivera.net, and today I want to talk about the most often asked question, which is, can I gain muscle and lose fat at the same time? And the answer to this is yes. We just have to kind of define what you mean by at the same time, but if we're talking about, say, a period of 10 weeks, I'll go ahead and tell you that yes, that is the case. And how is that accomplished? Well, the key thing is that your body responds best if you're focusing on one goal, okay? So let's say that, I always say, if you're over 10% body fat, okay? That's for guys. And for girls, over 13% or so. If you're over that percentage, then you need to lose body fat first, okay? And the way you do that is by creating a slight calorie deficit, okay? Where you're taking in 300 to 500 less calories than what you burn per day. Alright? And you have to make sure that you're taking in the right amount of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. Roughly, for most people, a diet of 40% carbs, 40% proteins, and 20% fats will go ahead and work very well to go ahead and get down in body fat. So we create a calorie deficit for most of the time, okay? And we do some extra cardiovascular activity, let's say like 6 days of anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes of cardio, and then you do your weight training, of course, and that's going to go ahead and put you in a situation where your body is going to be losing body fat, all right? And if you do everything correctly, you may even gain a little bit of muscle in the process too. But the key goal for this phase will be a fat loss phase. Once you go below the 10% body fat for guys and 13% body fat for women, you can go ahead and switch gears and go into a muscle gain phase, all right? And in this phase, what you'll do is that you go ahead and take slightly more calories than what your body burns, roughly around 500 extra calories will go ahead and get the job done. You'll cut your cardio to like 3 days of 20 to 45 minutes, and you go ahead and keep your weight training sessions intense. By the way, weight training sessions should always be intense, all right? Whether you're gaining muscle or losing body fat, you always want to go ahead and be training for muscle mass gains. I don't believe in reducing the amount of weight and just doing light weights when you're cutting and just doing heavy weights when you're gaining. You should always be using periodization to go ahead and emphasize muscle stimuli. You want to continue to stimulate the muscle all the time. But going back to our subject, muscle mass gains are created by 500 extra calories per day. Again, a 40-40-20 ratio will go ahead and work well for most of you. Heart gainers need a little bit more carbohydrates than that. For a heart gainer, it's better to go ahead and do 50% carbs, 30% proteins, and 20% fats. Of course, they'll be using a higher calorie base. And like I said, you cut the cardio a little bit, and they'll go ahead and put you into an anabolic state. You don't want to go ahead and continue to gain muscle mass when you're past the point of like 11% for guys and maybe 14% for women. At that point, you have to reverse gears again. And in this manner, you're constantly gaining muscle, okay? And then once you go ahead and go past the acceptable level of body fat, you go ahead and you start losing whatever body fat you've gained when you're on your muscle mass gaining phase. The key thing to remember is that when you are on an anabolic phase, on a muscle mass gaining phase, you will gain a little bit of body fat, okay? But if you do things right, most of the gains will come in the form of muscle mass. But then when you go ahead and switch gears, if you're doing everything correctly, you keep the muscle mass, even gain a little bit also, and you go ahead and cut the fat. And in this way, by oscillating between muscle mass gaining phases and fat loss phases, you basically gain muscle and lose body fat at the same time. Alright? So I hope that this answered your question. If you like this video, go ahead and click on the like button below. And in addition, feel free to share it with your friends through Facebook and Twitter. And don't forget to go ahead and visit my website at www.HugoRivera.net, where I have tons of free articles on training, nutrition, and supplementation. And you can also sign up to my free newsletter, which I send out at least once a week. And by signing up to my free newsletter, you also get a free ebook on how to gain muscle mass and lose fat at the same time. I hope to see you soon on my website. Until then, take care and train hard.